Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you get fixated on a certain thing. And when you get fixated on a certain thing, you almost dig yourself a little bit of a hole. And it's hard to admit that you were wrong. Now, as much work as I've done on myself, and I look for my contradictions, I look at things that I say that I could be wrong in. This one was a really tough one to let go of because I was so dead set that if you can't close a client on that first call, there's something wrong with you. That client is not going to sign. I was wrong. So, with no further ado, let's get straight into this module. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about the 1 versus 2 call frameworks. Now, in today's teaching, we are going to go over my sales process over the years, 1 call versus 2 call close, benefits of 1 call close, benefits of 2 call closes, best model for beginners, and how this affects your angle to the actual meeting. Now, first things first, let's talk about the evolution of my sales process. Ladies and gentlemen, my philosophy in 2018 and 2019, well, actually also 2017, but 2017, 2018, 2019, I guess the reason I say 2018 and 2019 was that's when I went full Zoom calls, right? Like I went full remote, even clients in the UK, I would still do the call via Zoom. So I guess that's kind of why I thought about 1 call close. But let's just keep it within that container because obviously sometimes when you have meetings, it can kind of like draw it and maybe you might even do a follow-up meeting, this and that. But in the arena of online Zoom calls, Google Hangouts, whatever it is that you use, 2018 and 2019, I was adamant, I was dogmatic that was the only way to sign clients. Was a 1 call close. And that's vastly different to what I did in 2020, 2021, as well as 2022 going onwards. As I said, in that period, I was so dogmatic about a 1 call close. I was sure that if they didn't close on that call, they were never going to become a client. And there's still a lot of merit to that. And in a lot of cases, I believe that's correct. But I guess I didn't fully differentiate the difference between a call and an offer. So real quick, let me just talk about the evolution of my sales framework. In 2017 and 2018, I followed a very strict script, okay? And I stuck to that. It was a 1 call close framework. If that client did not close on that call to me, they were never gonna become a client. And I didn't really even bother that much with follow-up. Then in what happened at the end of 2018, I remember it was somewhere around December, I think I just got a little cocky. And for the next year, I still followed that 1 call close framework, but with a loose script. And I'd say out of my entire sales journey, that was probably my worst period. Even though I was signing amazing clients, I was signing high retainers, I know for a fact I could have pulled in so many more clients if I wasn't just such a cocky little shit. And it wasn't like, I didn't think I was the best salesperson on earth. And, I've always said sales is probably actually one of my weaker points. I'd say so. I don't know. But anyways, I never consider myself a sales expert or this or that. I guess in the domain of agency sales these days, I'd say I'm pretty sharp when it comes to it. But as I said, especially back then, I didn't consider myself a sales expert or anything like that. The reason I call myself slightly cocky is just because I think at the end of the day, when you think that you can just have no process and, it's just going to go fine. And in all fairness, maybe when you've been doing sales for 15, 20, 25 years, maybe. But I wasn't at that place or at least I didn't have the framework. The framework I use now with the 2 call close, it's a lot less, it allows for more flexibility, right? I don't need to be so strict with the sales process now that I use this 2 call close framework, and especially the way that I do things, in terms of the way that I actually use a presentation, and 50% of it is sort of pre-made and the other 50% is off the cuff. We'll get into this, in just a second and later on in following modules, but as I said, I went from a strict 1 call close to let me just kind of follow the framework, but kind of loose script 1 call close. And that was my worst period for sure. Then I went to a 2 call close with script. So it would just be same thing, like no presentation, nothing like that. 2 call close with script, okay? And I was taking both calls, right? And that's when things really started tying up again. And I could tell that, I felt very on top of my sales. Then the last final iteration that we've had is a 2 call close framework with script as well as slides. So the way it works is all prospects, they have a 15-minute demo call with Danny, my CMO. And in that, he'll go through the 15-minute demo presentation. Okay. Once they've gone through that with Danny, and that's 70 or 60% Danny presenting, hey, this is what makes our agency this and this. Here's some case studies, really what a demo is, right? Like, hey, here's what we do, here's how we do it, here's why we've been able to get such great results. And the other 40% is really just him information gathering, right? Just getting an understanding of their business. And then from there, he'll book in a discovery call with myself, right? So by the time they're on a call with me, they're vetted. I know that, they're doing the sort of numbers where, they should be a client, because otherwise Danny would have set up that follow-up call. So for me, a lot of that second call is to do with culture fit, and really just getting the client to tell me, but not in like a weird way, but just getting the client to tell me, hey, why do you or not even telling me, asking honestly, why do you think we'd be a good fit? I present, hey, this is what's important to us as an agency, and you'll see all this stuff in the vault, some live sales examples. Now, bear in mind, if you don't have a Danny, right, which most of you guys won't, that's fine. You still take that first demo call, and that demo call really is about just gathering information, so that way you don't need to waste your time going through this entire long sales process to make an offer to a client who quite clearly is not a good fit, okay? So that's a little bit about the evolution of my sales process. Now, real quick, let's talk about the one call close. Now, although I have changed my opinion on my agency specifically, going from one call close to a two call close framework, I still believe the one call close framework has a lot of merit and a lot of use case. Namely, it saves a lot of time and you can get straight to the point with the offer. Obviously, when you have a two call close, you're gonna, the offer is split up between two calls. For us, we have that 15-minute demo call, and then I make that offer, or if I do make an offer, I make an offer in that second call. So as I said, I believe there are a few use cases for the one call close, and let's talk about that right now. If you run a local business agency with bold offer pricing, it really is a situation where you can convert prospects in one call. This is the closest thing I've personally found to productizing your service, right? Because there's very few variables with this, and the client also has a very uneasy understanding of the service. So this pricing model rips it with the one call close. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, we've already visited all the different pricing models. When you have such a simple, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but it's just like, your niche, pretty much anyone in your niche is qualified as long as they can pay the money. And you just have like a very bold statement, exactly what I call it, a bold offer, you can really close them on one call. You don't need multiple calls. One of the big reasons why we need multiple calls is because of the complexity of our deals. No two deals look the same, right? With us, we have, before it used to be 70% InfoProduct clients, 20-30% e-commerce businesses. Now it's more like 70% e-commerce businesses and 30% InfoProduct businesses. But although e-commerce and InfoProduct are technically a niche, they're more of a kind of business, right? So within that, there's you still need to learn the language and this and that. It's very complex, right? And each deal is totally different. Sometimes we do a high, flat retainer. Sometimes we'll do a 6,800 pound a month flat base, right? Sometimes we'll do a 1,600 pound a month plus 5% return on ad spend on anything we make above 100,000, right? So the first 100,000, we don't take a penny. Sometimes we'll do a 2,800 pound a month plus 3% flat return on ad spend, right? So it varies from client to client, right? And because we have this bespoke pricing, and because we have very, incredible, 90% of the time high ticket clients, there's a lot of complexity with it, right? Which is why I need this two calls. I need Danny to vet them first, and then I need to speak to them. And sometimes we even use a 3-call close framework. Now, this is something we definitely used to do a lot of, right? Danny would take the call, I take that second call, really get 80% in line with the offer that I was going to make. And then on that next call, make an offer, because I would need to speak with Danny first. Then, around beginning of 2021, I found out that you can actually just put clients in the waiting room. So I would put clients in the waiting room for 4 or 5 minutes, and then Danny and I would speak for 4 or 5 minutes and be like, hey, basically just finalize the offer, and then we would pitch it to them, right? And that's the way that we would do things. So that's a little bit about why we use the 2-call close framework. So apart from this bold offer pricing, who else is the 1-call close framework really good for? If you are an intermediate to advanced local biz agency owner, then it can also work very well, right? Because you've seen this so many times where you don't need to gather, more preliminary information. You don't need to think about, hey, what am I going to offer? Because, for you, maybe your offer is the difference between charging $2,200 and $2,600 a month because this client is spending more money, or maybe they have multiple locations. So rather than charging them $2,200, you charge them $3,600 for 2 locations, right? Something like that. There's not much there's not much variation from deal to deal. And over the space of one call, you've done hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of sales calls, and you're at a stage right now where you don't really need to employ that 2-call close framework. You can use a bit of that hybrid, and you're going to see that in the vault, where you're going to use a bit of a hybrid of like, hey, I'm going to use some slide framework, and then also 50% of it is going to be me kind of speaking off the cuff to the client. So we've got the agencies that use bold offer pricing, or a big guarantee, big statement pricing model. We've got the agencies that are intermediate to advanced local biz agencies. These are the two people that can use the 1-call close framework. One sort of demographic that should never, ever, ever use a 1-call close is anyone that does online business, right? So whether, in my opinion, whether that's Infoprog, whether that's SaaS, whether that's e-commerce, you really should have some time to think about it, right? And instead, because the way that we do things with the demo and Danny, vetting the clients, et cetera, that does a lot of the heavy work for me. If I didn't have that in place, and in all fairness, I didn't have that in place until we implemented that, I think April of 2020. So for the first 4 months of 2020, I was doing this 2-call close framework. Now, another sort of demographic that could definitely use this, but I recommend you don't, and hear me out here, is performance only agencies. The thing is, when you're signing clients on performance only, of course you only need 1 call to close them, right? Especially if they're charging, you're not charging them literally any base retainer, but stay away. When you are a performance only agency, it is vital, it is very, very important that you get access to the back end of the client that you're bringing on, because you can see, I've seen it time and time again. It's funny enough, even with some of our performance deals, where clients will inflate numbers, or they'll inflate what they're currently able to do. So it's very important that you see the back end of their business if you are a performance only agency. So as I said, really to me, the only two demographics that you use a 1-call close: bold offer agencies, as well as intermediate to advanced local biz agencies. Now, when it comes to the sales process for the 1-call close methodology, we're going to go into this extensively in following modules. But the main thing that you need to remember is there is less, there's far less room for mistakes. Okay. There's far less room for veering off track. It's more rigid. And as I said, there's really, really not much room for error. When you do the 1-call close, it's a masterpiece, right? As I said, it's a masterpiece. And I mean, you're closing up a client in 1 call, which, as I said, me in 2018, I didn't understand the significance of that. And although I was managing to do it, and I was still doing it at a very respectable closing percentage, it is definitely for sure a big task, especially with some of the larger clients. So in the next module, I'm going to give you the full script, but the high level framework of the 1-call close is first digging phase, then emotional phase, then logic phase, then culture fit, and then the close. So no need to write that down or anything. I've had Tristan pop it up on the screen, but just so you can understand from a high level view, that's really the structure of it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the 2-call close. So the benefits of the 2-call close are endless. For online biz clients, to me, it's a must because of the complexity and sort of the range of results you can get. Then for some of the beginner local biz agencies, to me, it's you should definitely use a 2-call close because it takes so much pressure off you to be perfect, to follow the script to a T, right? As I said, it really alleviates a lot of that pressure. The main issue that I had in my mind, or main concern or worry, is the drop off between call 1 and call 2 when you're using a 2-call close strategy. What I've realized over the space of the last couple of years is if you are penciling in a prospect that's actually a good fit, right? So they're actually a good fit. Based on that first call, honestly, you think they're a good fit and the vibe is there and they're qualified, et cetera, et cetera. And in your heart of heart that it is the right move to pencil in that follow-up call. I've basically seen no shows. And the other really important thing that we do, and I'll get Tristan to kind of throw up an example here, like this is literally the calendar that clients see. So when clients book in a demo call with Danny, when Danny decides, okay, this is worth having a longer 45-minute discovery call where I'm present and Danny's also present, what he'll do is rather than being like, oh, what time works for you this week, and just penciling into a Google Calendar and then send him a Google Calendar invite. Instead, what he does, and as I said, I'll get Tristan to kind of pop up a demo of this on here, with some fake client information or whatever, is instead he pulls up Calendly. He asks them, hey, what time zone are you in? He selects their time zone. So now they can see the space of next week. What times are they free, right? And first of all, I guess they can see what times Danny and I are free because it syncs with our calendar, but then they can go, okay, you know what? Tuesday I'm free at 5 p.m. my time, right? As I said, it'll show their actual calendar. So that's the other fun thing about not having to screw around with, what time zone are you this? Like they can actually see with their own two eyes, what's available. Then what Danny will do is he'll fill in their first name, last name, their email, as well as their phone number, right? And funnily enough, we actually have that information from that first Calendly event because, the thing that's really powerful with that is we have it set. So 24 hours, 6 hours, and 1 hour before they receive an email and an SMS. So this is so important, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever you're penciling in follow-up calls, to the best of your ability, try not to do it via GCal. Always try to get, even though you're punching in the information yourself manually on behalf of the client, always try to get it done through Calendly because as I said, the benefit there is they'll get the email reminders as well as the SMS reminders. And that is so powerful when it comes to your show up rate. And that is really an absolute key when you are doing this 2-call close framework. So very, very important that you remember that and you keep that in mind. And then also very important, I'm sure, I would have gone you to do this in phase 1 or phase 3. Very, very important that on your GCal event, that specific event that you have, that you go into the settings and you have reminders set 24 hours, 6 hours, and 1 hour before for both SMS as well as email for that client. As I said, when it comes to the 2-call close framework, Danny, before I did like a 2-call close and I was doing both calls, now Danny does that first 15-minute demo and then they have a call with me. And for me personally, I would never go back to 1-call closes because ever since we started doing a 2-call close, first of all, I'm getting on the phone with the right prospects. I think also clients respect the fact that it's taken, like we really do take our time. And in fact, sometimes I even do a 3-call close. The first demo call with Danny, I take a call. And sometimes I'll tell clients like, in full honesty, I tell them, look, I'm 50-50 on this deal. I need to speak privately with the team. We need to speak for 30, 45 minutes, be 100% dead set that we can knock this out the park for you. And if we have full certainty that we can do that, then I'll make you an offer on the next call. Does that sound fair enough? And I even tell the clients, I go, look, I know this is super frustrating, but as the saying goes, hire slow, fire fast. We're about to jump into a partnership here. And when I make you an offer, I want to do it with 100% conviction. So just give me a little bit of time. As I said, I apologize. I know it's so annoying having these multiple calls, but when I make an offer, I do it in full integrity. So just give me a little bit of time and I promise we'll get this squared away on the next call. So as I said, sometimes I even do that and I move to a 3-call close. The other really powerful thing I kind of mentioned is that waiting room feature. Ever since I found out about that kind of mitigated the need for that 3-call close in a lot of cases, because I can just speak privately with Danny for 4 or 5 minutes and we just do it that way. So now I'm going to talk about the high level framework. And once again, I'll get Tristan to pop up some animations on screen. Let's talk about call 1. All right. So this is the first call. First call is one thing and one thing only, and that is digging phase. Okay. So that's pretty much call 1. Digging phase, where you're trying to find out about their business and you're really trying to find out like, hey, put your sales targets for that month aside, put everything to the side. In full integrity and full honesty, can you say that, hey, this is a client worth bringing on and it's worth, entertaining a larger or longer format discussion? If that's the case, pull up Calendly. First of all, ask them a bunch of questions and we'll get into all this stuff in just a second. But ask them all the questions that I'm going to give you in the 2-call close framework. Ask them a bunch of questions. If they're actually the right fit, tell them they're the right fit and also tell them why. Hey, based on this and this and this, I honestly think that, we could smash out the park here. But, this call was really just to find out a little bit about each other, for you to find out a little bit about my agency and the way that we operate and see whether you resonate with it. And then also for me to find out about the inner workings of your business so I can be very honest as to whether we can get you the results that you want. And for me, that's an absolute green light. So let me pop up Calendly. What are some times, first of all, what time zone are you in? Awesome. So what are some times that work for you over the space of the next few days? Okay. That's all call 1 is. Now let's get into the high level overview of call 2. So when you get into call 2, the first thing you're actually going to do is you're going to actually move to the emotional buy-in phase, right? And this really throws them a curveball because they're thinking you're just going to get into more questions about their business or like, hey, I thought about the offer and here's what I can offer you. Now it's a totally different curveball. You're actually asking them about the reasons behind why they started their business and kind of really digging more. Hey, why don't you just want to, you're already a very successful business owner. Why don't you even just want to stay where you're at? Hey, why don't you just run the ads yourself? Or, ask difficult questions like, why don't you just bring this in-house yourself? Why are you speaking to me as an agency? Well, in that emotional buy-in phase, I said, it almost throws them off track. So that's the emotional buy-in. And then you're going to move into reiterating the digging phase. So you're actually going to state back to them exactly what they said in the first call, about where they're at, where they want to get to, what success would look like in 12 months working together, et cetera, et cetera. So as I said, emotional buy-in, then you're actually going to revert back to the digging phase. Then you're going to go to logic, and then you're going to go to culture fit, and then you're going to go to close. And that's a high level overview of that second call with the 2-call framework. So bear in mind when you see the vault examples, it will be different to the script that I'm giving you, because as I said, this, for 99% of you, or maybe 90% of you, or actually, maybe even 80% of you, a lot of you guys are very, very high level in this program. You don't have a Danny, right? Like someone won't be taking your first call, right? So the dynamic is different in that situation compared to me, where, as I said, I have Danny, my CMO. And also the thing is, I've spent years and years propping this person up, where people know that when they're speaking to Danny, they're not speaking to like some slimy salesperson, or they're not speaking to like just some contractor, this, that. Like this person is my right-hand man at the company. He almost runs the company, really. So as I said, just bear in mind when you see the script that I give you, it'll be slightly different to what I actually, the live examples that you get in the vault. And as I said, the reason behind that is because of sort of that dynamic at play. Now, one of the other really big benefits of using a 2-call close is it opens up the playing field for angles to the first meeting. So let me explain what I mean by that. If you're using a 1-call close, then that meeting is a sales environment, but like, as much as you try to dress it up as something different, that is what it is. And you saying that it's something else wouldn't really be in full integrity. When you use a 2-call close framework, for 90% of you guys, this changes the angle to something that it's a lot easier to get compliance for. It's a lot easier to get clients on the phone about. So I'll give you some examples right here. Here are some angles to that first call in a 2-call close framework. The one that we used. 15-minute demo call. It doesn't need to be anything super fancy, but it's the 15-minute demo call. It's a small little container. Like there's a time stamp to it, right? 15 minutes. Clients are very willing to just give away 15 minutes of their time to get a demo of what it's like to work with our agency, right? So 15-minute demo call. Another example is a 20-minute account audit, where over the space of 20 minutes, you just give them a high-level account audit, right? That can be an angle. And at the end of that, you can go, okay, based on everything you've said, for this, and this reason, I believe that we can help you get to your goals, or at least do a lot better than what you're currently doing or what your agency is currently doing. Do you think it's worth setting up a longer 45 minutes call to discuss this based on everything I've said, right? So that's an example right there. Another one is a 15-minute knowledge transfer call, right? That can be one of your angles to your meeting. Is hey, over the space of 15 minutes, I actually just want to share with you a case study with one of our old clients that I was doing $1 million a month, and I have their permission to share it, and I'll show you what the inner workings of a 8-figure a year e-commerce business looks like, right? So for example, it could be you can, once again, all of these angles can be, you can spruce up and stuff like that. So there can be different angles that you take to the angles that I'm suggesting, if that makes sense. But these are just some high level ones. Another one can just be a 20-minute discovery call. So you can have these different angles that make you sound totally different from other agencies out there. When I started doing a 15-minute demo, no one was doing demo calls, right? And no one was doing short, punchy calls like that, right? So whatever angle you use, and by the way, bear in mind, with a lot of these angles, they're just fancier ways, or just repackaged ways to just say what the real, just the main thing, right? There's many ways to skin a cat. And although really all of these calls would look the same, just by using different terminology towards it, it totally opens up the playing field. And now, clients are like, oh, I've never heard about that before, right? So as I said, for me, that's actually as well one of the biggest benefits of using a 2-call close framework compared to a 1-call close framework. With the 1-call close framework, you're boxed in by that call. Whereas with a 2-call close framework, you can change your angle to that first meeting. And there's a lot more flexibility and variation that you can use. So ladies and gentlemen, today's action step is I want you to go to your profile section in the platform, make sure all the info is updated, and also make sure your leaderboard section is up to date. Guys, I don't know if you've seen the prizes recently. The prizes are fucking insane. And the reason, I've made them this insane is because, quite simply, I want to make sure that we have real-time leaderboards and we can see who is killing it. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoy this module, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.